Well, good evening. I'm Jim McGinnis, sitting out here on my back porch. It's getting late, but I was reading one of my favorite Florida writers, Shelby, Strother, and uh, I stumbled upon uh, the storied past of Honest John Smith, which I believe was uh, the last interview with Honest John, our local legend from Floridana Beach. And I thought I would share with you um, at least part of it till the voice goes. So here you go. Sir, my first name is Honest. That piece of etiquette taken care of, the old man begins telling his story. He tells of prohibition and running bootleg rum aboard sailboats into Sebastian Inlet, which he helped dig, of Al Capone and the U.S. government stalking him at the same time. The obvious danger was but a spice, a condiment, for all the fun. Lord, yes, fun. Money had little to do with it. Although a case of fine whiskey could be had in the Bahamas for $18 and sold for about $125, very close to the inlet. The old man also casts off in different directions. He confesses to a sense of smallness and ominous afternoon 50 years ago, a few miles off the coast of Fort Pierce, when he realized he had a 3,000-pound great white shark on his fishing line. We had to tow it. Our 26-foot boat was too small. Yes, sir, that was a big fish, the pride oozing like sweat from his enormous body. They come like waves, the stories of Florida. Once upon a time, stories of a man who drank of life's rich experiences and living color adventures like it was his father's peach brandy. Stories that are never the same, always pounding and ebbing, washing clean and muddying, ravaging the senses of anyone listening. There's an even muted joy in his words, a bridled enthusiasm. He is more than a historian, he's an eyewitness. He is always of a salty ear to share. But then, Honest John Smith always did know how to set a hook. In patch quilt style, he stitches together a life commandeered by an irascible soul, a pirate, a cowboy, the free spirit who survived the rocks and sandbars and timeshares. Time has whittled his body, and he is too old and feeble and fat to do much of anything else but reminisce. As the singer reminds us, some of it was magic, some of it was tragic, but he had a good life all the way. Amen. He recalls the last appearance of Halley's Comet, which makes the scene every 76 years. He describes oysters more than a foot long, the likes of which will never be seen again. He talks matter-of-factly about the whorehouse in the same building where he attended school, all the way through 8th grade. Then the snake interrupts him. It slides over calloused, gristled feet that have not worn shoes since his wife's funeral several years ago. Neither the old man nor the snake pay any attention to each other. Just a rat snake, says Honest John. It gets the rats. He shrugs and resumes his tale, yet another sliver of adventure, a random selection from a most remarkable, eccentric life. Just as the old man describes the eyes of the sea bat, the snake makes another pass. To the outsider, it seems a stressful cohabitation. The concept of man as just another tenant seems foreign. What about all the snakes, rats, mosquitoes, and all the other vermin, pests, and critters that infest the fortress paradise that has been home to Honest John for all of his 80 years? Wouldn't he like to get rid of them? There is a rumble and then a shudder from the old man. a silent laugh that manifests only in the form of a tremendous jiggle of flesh gone soft, a 300-pound harumph. Sir, I am not the one to ask about evictions. It don't matter if I like them or not. They homesteaded here. They were here first. They have a right to be here. He is surrounded by yesterday, angry about tomorrow. Honest John Smith faces the twilight, stares it down with his one good eye. The trade winds rustle through the tall pines, and off in the distance he can hear the screech of birds, sensing imminent danger. Across the creek, the squawk of a crane cuts through the serenity. Unless you're listening closely, it sounds like the bird is belching condominium, but that's impossible. John Smith ignores the encroachment. The world can go to hell without him. He's out from underneath it. He never quit fighting. He continues to refuse acknowledgement of progress as a necessary evil. He labored to prevent the rape of nature, to save the oysters and the dune lines and the snook, those newfangled clam rakes, mosquito sprays that act like chemotherapy, killing the good cells as well as the bad ones, the causeways that block the flow of water and change the salinity and bring about saltwater intrusion, all have eaten away at the delicate balance. He is outnumbered, but mainly he is 80 years old. Yeah, honest John Smith held his own until he got too old to give a damn. It is time to be content with watching the kingfisher dive for the food in Mullet Creek, to know he is aiding and abetting the fragile perpetuation of a dwindling species. There are memories sweeter than his oysters, but they no longer perpetuate. Once in a while, he sees hints of life in the woods as it should be. But mostly he hears the rumble of the modern world trampling around his sanctuary on the north bank of Mullet Creek, near Floridana Beach. Old Florida is vanishing, and John Smith understands. He is part of the disappearing act. I listen to people talk about a religion. My religion is knowing right and wrong. It's watching a fish hawk learn its babies how to catch something to eat. Ain't no way it can do it, but it does. That's God. He's all around here, if people leave him alone. For several seconds, the only sounds are those of chattering squirrels. Then Honest John Smith says, the last time that comet showed up, these people up the road who owned the hotel burned it to collect the insurance and tried to blame it on the comet. They said it had a tail of fire that dragged so low that it caught their place on fire. And there was another shiver of silent laughter. And he doesn't say it, but you know John Smith wishes there would be another fire or two, and not for insurance purposes. John Smith was born in the same bedroom he sleeps in today. He's never had a television set. The fish camp is run by his daughter and her husband now. The rolling tranquility of the place overwhelms at times. The man in the house doesn't get around much, but you feel his presence nonetheless. I got the Solaroid poisoning, Honest John says. Skin cancer. It has desecrated him. I don't get out in the sun anymore. My grip is bad. I can't throw a cast net no more. And ever since I had my eye put out on the result of a fall on a nail, can't shoot with my left eye, and I ain't got no right one. No more fishing or hunting. Can't hardly stand that, he says. John Smith Jr. lives in Palm Beach now, Honest John's son. However, he will never forget a special childhood that took place in the raw wilderness. He remembers the mosquitoes. Yeah. Dad got to where the mosquitoes didn't bother him. I used to walk up behind him, and he wouldn't have a shirt on, and his back would be almost black with mosquitoes. I'd slap at them and there would be this big smear of blood all over his back. I'd ask him, "Didn't you feel them?" And he'd just shake his head. My dad is an amazing man. Honest John's sense of fun, his love of shocking people, have made for some frolicking, ribald times. Never any malice, always looking for a grin. His 300-acre plantation was homesteaded by his father, Robert Toome Smith, a farmer who fled Georgia after the Civil War. His father showed up in Brevard County with $35 in his pocket, and for a while he worked the pineapple plantations of Melbourne. He gained the land after a long battle with another man claiming ownership. The deed, if I'm not mistaken, is signed by Teddy Roosevelt, Honest John explains. I have a lot of memories of my childhood, like old man Jefferson chasing us through the banana patch, or trading 8 pounds of cabbage with old Wag, the barber, for a haircut. He talks of deals and scams and treasure maps that never led anywhere. He leans back in his chair, banging against the wall of his front porch. Thousands of telephone numbers are scribbled on the wall. A huge seahorse is impaled with a single nail near an antique saw. Pieces of a man's life, not exactly displayed, not exactly treasure or trash. Barbara Arnold is Honest John's daughter. She moved back to his estate 6 years ago. It's so unique out here, so different, so fresh, she says. I never knew how much I loved this place until I moved away. The baton has been passed. I don't approve of everything he's done, Barbara says, but he's had a full life. He isn't going to change. People should leave him alone. I think that's all he wants now. A mullet jumps. Honest John Smith's feet twitch. There's an instinct, a calling to go grab a cast net and turn that show-off mullet into dinner. Just like during World War II, when the Hooligans Navy, an all-volunteer vigilante patrol, made its rounds. Plenty of ammo and beverage on board to search for German U-boats off the coast of Brevard County. A reflex call to arms. He is a protector, and last December on his birthday, his family presented him with a flag and flagpole to be raised at the end of the pier of his fortress paradise. A friend played God Bless America on the trumpet. John Smith stood and saluted and reached for a beer when everything was done. The celebration is not in triumph over the enemy, it is in the quest itself. My doctor prunes me and scrapes my barnacles and tells me I'm doing all right, he says, but I could have told him that. A curlew flies by. It looks like a pink flamingo to the visitor. Honest John's knowledge of birds and animals is self-taught, self-experienced. I never ate a curlew, he says. I'll say there ain't many things I've never tried. I've seen Cuba at its best and caught some big fishes. There's some rough riding and there's been some narrow escapes, but I always manage to have some fun each day. The land is valuable, probably worth millions. As the sunset nears, why doesn't he sell it and become a millionaire? What in the hell would I do with $1 million that I can't do already? He smiles. The gentle side of John Smith is basking in the afternoon. His is a warmth that is eternal and on the endangered species list at the same time. And it becomes apparent that, at least from one man's viewpoint, what the world needs most is more rat snakes. Honest John Smith by Shelby Strother. Fair winds.